nobody really is coming to save you. And that was one thing that I really did learn was I had to do the work myself. We invest in the things that we find value in, right? I would rather invest in my health care than in my sick care. You're either going to pay for it on the front end or you're going to pay for it on the back end. That's just the way that it goes. None of us get out of this alive.
Oh my goodness, Christine Vitiello, welcome to the Stop Faking Fine podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. With
Oh
the
my
Dana
gosh.
Lewis. Come on.
Oh, I love it. I'm with the Christine. I remember meeting you, gosh, what was it, 3 or maybe even 4 years ago? And you have come so far in the last 4 years. I am so proud of you. And I want to just share your story of, in your words, living in black or white to living in vibrant color. So let's go back to that very, very, very beginning of our friendship and of your journey, because I know that so many women will resonate with living in black and white, like just barely surviving, barely hanging on. Can you bring me back to those moments where people used to say to you, and these are your words, like, you look so depressed, Christine, you look so depressed. Like,
Yes.
can you share a little bit more about that?
I'd be happy to, because I can't possibly believe that there's not somebody out there that couldn't relate to this on some level. But I feel like we all have a little something trapped inside of us that a lot of times we want to let parts of our authentic selves shine through, but we're afraid for whatever reason, because let's face it, the world beats us down all the time and tells us, no, you need to be this way or you need to be this way. And
Yeah.
so, I just was battling hormonal imbalance, though at the time I didn't know that that's what it was. I'd venture to say that I probably struggled with depression and anxiety for a long time, probably stemming back to my childhood. But when you're a kid, you just don't know how to articulate it and how to say that you feel anxiety in your gut. And I struggled with a lot of that. And just, feelings of inadequacy in whatever role that I was playing as a mom, never trusting my intuition and who I was. And, then I saw a friend, sharing about gut health, and she was so upbeat and so alive,
Yeah.
like that's the only way I can describe it, is just alive and vibrant and thriving. And I was just like, I want that, because
Yeah.
that's how I felt I was on the inside, but I couldn't put it out there. I didn't feel confident enough to do so. Yeah.
When you go back to that woman, though, I remember you saying to me, like, it could be sunny outside and you never wanted to get out of bed. You didn't have the energy, you didn't have the
Nope.
mood. Like, can you bring us back to those days and how you actually, like, how did you feel really, Christine?
I felt exhausted. I felt like, anybody can relate to this, a busted can of biscuits. That's what
I really like that.
I mean, that's kind of like how the kids, talk about it nowadays. But I really honestly, like, those Pillsbury dough,
Yeah.
those Pillsbury dough things that you break open. That's what I
Yeah.
felt like. Literally, my waistline was spilling over my waistline of my pants. I would have to doctor it somehow to create some more width. I mean, it's amazing the things that we can trick ourselves into thinking, like, oh, I've got this under control. I'll start my diet next week, or I'll start it next month. There's always the new year, new me in January,
Were you of that mindset during that time, that you were just like stuffing your feelings, for lack of a better term,
Yes.
and trudging forward and telling yourself that you'll start? What were you going to start on Monday?
I was just going to start the next fad diet, something. Maybe I'd go and join Weight Watchers again and see if I could, make that work. Maybe I
How
could do
many
the
times
keto.
did you do? Yeah. How many times did you do Weight Watchers?
I did Weight Watchers at least one time. I had contemplated it several times. I even had this little thing that I bought from them that shows you how to portion control, like your proteins, your fruits, and all of that.
Yeah.
But, honestly, I always just never really aligned with any kind of a diet, because I find in my mind, and the way that my brain works, is that the more I have to restrict myself from something, the more I'm going to want to have it. It's kind of like when you discipline your kids, the more you tell them not to do something, the more they're going to want to do it. And I'm Italian. I love my carbs and I love my bread. And I mean, people
Yeah.
in Italy are thriving on bread and pasta. So why can't I over here in the United States, you
Right,
know?
right. Yes.
So, I couldn't align myself with any type of diet. And then it wasn't until I enrolled in nutrition school where I really started to learn if you can just change your behaviors around food, then really all foods fit. It's
Mhm.
just a matter of changing how
But
you.
you've skipped over 5 years from being depressed and not wanting to get out of bed to enrolling in nutrition school, which is, like, amazing because that is like, you are thriving right now, and if we go back to that woman that was Christine, you just look depressed all the time. Like, you just look depressed all the time. Like, what was your mindset in that? Because you were on prescription medications, weren't you, at that time? Like, what were you hoping to get out of that? Like, what was your plan at that point in time?
So the prescription medications were supposed to help me at least just get over that hump because it was never that I didn't want to be in the gym or that I didn't I mean, I'm not one of these people that's fanatical over exercise, but I do understand the value of it. I had family telling me all the time, for my sister's been in fitness for years, exercise is the cheapest antidepressant. I knew
Yeah.
this, but it was just getting my body in motion and motivating myself was the hardest part. So I started to think that I was lazy. I really honestly
Yeah.
just started to think I was lazy. And I would have these like really just horrible self deprecating thoughts that I was just like, I'm a lazy sack of you know what? I can't do
Yeah.
this. It's just not me. That's not in my genes. It's this. I even used to convince myself that it was just my sister who was predestined to be the fit one of the family and not me because
Yeah.
I didn't get blessed with those genes. Nobody gets blessed with those genes. It's a
Right.
commitment that you have to make to yourself every single day. You have
Yeah.
to I like what Doc Amen says, you have to choose every single day, is this good for my brain or is this bad for my brain? Is this good for
Mhm.
me or is this going to be bad for me? And it's a choice we have to make every day. I don't have it all the time down to an exact science. I give myself grace. Sometimes it's
Mhm.
harder for me to give myself the grace that I give other people, but it's the
Well,
truth.
that's a
It's
really great statement. Like, that's a really great statement because we do have to give ourselves the same love, grace, and energy that we give to other people. So, what flipped the script in your life when you finally decided to have the outlook of, I like the gym. I like the way I feel after the gym, right? Because now you consistently go to the gym. But what was the catalyst that kind of flipped the script for that for you?
So my sister had introduced me. This was a pivotal moment in my healing journey. She had introduced me to this program that the local CrossFit gym was doing. It was called Move to Heal because they
Mhm.
saw that everybody was coming out of COVID and dealing with either social anxiety, depression, addiction issues, whatever the case may be. So they opened it up to everyone struggling with any one of those areas or anything that they may have been struggling with. And it was a scaled down version of CrossFit, a half-hour scaled down version of CrossFit, and then a recovery meeting afterwards. And then they were offering free memberships to those people who were partaking in that program. And so I hopped on that. And
Yeah.
then that right there was huge because it was community. Community is huge. I think God
Mhm.
designs us to be in community with people, and we're not meant to be isolated and to be taking on these burdens alone because we're
Mhm.
all just walking each other home. That's the way I look at it. We're all just
Yeah.
walking home from school and
Yeah.
walking each other home. And that was the catalyst for me. And that was really what segued me into this lifestyle of, because it really is a change in lifestyle of just prioritizing movement every day and
And
eating
really
better. Just
prioritizing you, like, it was in prioritizing you. So what was the shift? Because prior, just a few minutes ago, you were sharing that you had this negative thought track that you were, a lousy blah, 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 without energy, and that you were undeserving of having the energy of going to the gym. And I think that that is huge because we can so easily spiral downward in our minds and then tell ourselves we're not worthy. You're just going to be, fat forever. You're going to be
yeah.
XYZ, whatever the problem is. So what flipped the script in your brain to say, no, I deserve this. I'm worthy of movement. I'm worthy of eating better.
Well, just the simple gift in and of itself of how I felt when I made those concerted efforts and
Yeah.
changes, because your body will start to respond. Your body will
Yeah.
start to gift you with what you so desperately desire if you support it. It's just, I think that people get hung up on, oh, it's going to take too much time out of my day, or it hurts too much. I don't like to sweat. I don't like to move my body. I mean, you can have a dance party in your living room, and literally that can raise your
Yeah.
serotonin and dopamine levels. So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of just being your own best friend, being the person that
Mhm.
you need in those moments, because nobody really is coming to save you. And that was one thing that I really did learn was I had to do the work myself. There are plenty of quick fixes out there that I could send anybody to say, hey, go talk to your doctor about this drug or whatever. And that could be a quick, simple, and easy thing. But for me, I feel it builds resiliency, it builds character, it builds confidence, it builds
Mhm.
esteem, it builds just, the validation that you have the strength and the courage and whatever it takes to get to the other side. And that's what I'm here to tell anybody out there that's willing to listen, is that you can do it. You have it in you. And I know, because
Yeah.
you were telling me that too. You were saying, Christine, you have all the gifts and talents and you
Yeah,
have it all within
you
you.
can do this. You can do this. So like bring us back though from the moment where you were using the prescription meds in order to have just enough energy to get yourself out of bed or just enough energy to get to the gym was what your goal was with that prescription. And when you went off of that protocol and on to gut health and serotonin and dopamine, because now you're talking a language that 4 years ago Christine wasn't talking. So
Yeah.
bridge the gap, like what made you get to where you are now?
Well, I'll tell you that the pharmaceuticals never woke up my brain. They just, as hard as I tried to believe that they would or they could or whatever,
Mhm.
they never did. I'll tell you one thing, they gave me a lot of jitters. They made me feel numb. I felt like a zombie. I felt disconnected from the world. I felt disconnected from my own emotions, and I
Did
felt
you
disconnected.
recognize that in the moment? Did you recognize that
Oh
disconnection?
yeah, yeah. Because I vividly remember being in the office one day and they were throwing me a party for my 50th birthday, and a lot of it had to do with anxiety too, of just having to walk into a room where
Yeah.
everybody's looking at you and singing you happy birthday and all of that. But
Which is
I
supposed to
had
be such a precious thing. It's supposed to be such a precious thing, but it
it is.
added so much anxiety for you.
It did. It added so much anxiety. I wasn't feeling good about myself and comfortable in my own skin. I mean, 50 is like turning the corner. You're going into a whole new decade. And it was like I should have been feeling confident and vibrant and confident in my own and who I was. And I was far from that person. One like
Yeah.
if people knew what I was struggling with underneath the surface, they would have been like, oh, well, maybe we should have thrown her a smaller party with like maybe two or three people. But I had just started the meds at that point, and it was horrible. I remember I'd have to, like, every time I go and see my psychiatrist, I'd have to fill out a form to gauge where I was, like if I had any bad thoughts about, wanting
Yeah.
to harm myself in any way. And I was just like, a lot of times I go there and I'd be like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Like, why do I have to fill this out all the time? And it was an awful place to be. It was a very dark place to be. And the phone felt like 100 pounds. It was like impossible, even though people would tell me all the time, I'm here for you, I'm happy to help you with whatever you need or whatever. The phone still felt like 1,000 pounds, because you don't want to feel like a burden to people. You don't want to be
Mhm.
that negative Nancy and that sad sack all the time, like, oh, I feel this way, or my emotions are down here as opposed to up here. And I didn't like that my kids were seeing me like that too, because I
Mm.
felt like they deserved and could have a much more vibrant and healthier mom. And
Mhm.
so, first and foremost, I did it for me, but also for them, because they deserve to have a mom full of vitality, full of happiness and joy
Mhm.
and all the things that we can garnish out of this life, because we only get one shot. So,
Was it at that time that you saw Teresa, our friend, who introduced you to like gut health and happy juice and all the things? But was it at that time that you were like, she seems so happy. I want what she
yes,
has? Like, can you
yes,
like
yeah.
walk us through that moment and what changed? Like what was the exact thing that you did that brought you from this woman, because I know the woman that's leaning in right now that's like, "Oh my gosh, that's me. I'm in the psychiatrist's office. I'm filling out the paperwork." I recognize the first step in helping yourself, right, is recognizing that you want more. And this podcast, it's literally called Stop Faking Fine, because we all do it at different levels in our lives where we just stuff our feelings and you trudge forward. But
Mhm.
what specifically changed? You started on Happy Juice, and what else did you do?
It's funny because Happy Juice wasn't even around back then. It was just fundamentals, and then I
Mhm.
bundled in energy and edge. But I just was attracted to her, just her larger than life personality on the socials. I was like, wow. Like, first of all, she's got like courage to like show her face in front of the
Yeah.
camera and get on
Yeah.
social media. I was like, she's turning into like this like modern day
Celebrity.
influencer.
Yeah.
Because I used to work with her years ago back in corporate, and I was just like,
Yeah.
well, I didn't remember her like then. I mean, she was really happy back then, but I didn't remember her like this. I'm like, I want more of what she has. Whatever it is that she's doing, I want, because I want to feel
Yeah.
that way. It was not nothing about vanity, nothing about wanting to look a certain kind of a way. It was more
Yeah.
about a feeling. It was how I wanted to feel. I wanted to feel like I had life within these bones, and you know what
Mhm.
I mean, like I wanted to be able
Yeah.
to get out there. Like someday my kids are going to have kids, I want to be on the floor playing with my grandchildren someday, not like, oh, my back, oh, that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, so
like
what
everybody
made
just.
you say yes to her? What made you Did you reach out to her? So shout out to
Yes.
Teresa Todd. She's our
Mm,
amazing friend that
yes.
is also obsessed with holistic health and healing and whatnot. But what made you lean in?
So I called her and I said, I don't know what it is you're doing, but I want whatever it is you're doing. I said, we got on a call. She went through like all my pain points, what I was dealing with. I said, I think I'm in menopause. I don't even really know. My doctor didn't even really tell me, yes, you
Yeah.
are officially in menopause. Unfortunately, as I learned in nutrition school, doctors don't know how to support you in these areas because
Right.
they don't get much of an education in that area. So, we talked about it. I told her how I was struggling with hot flashes, the mood swings, the irritability. I was way overweight. I mean, beyond overweight, like a weight that I had never even seen when I was pregnant with my kids.
Yeah.
Struggling with other health issues at the time. And she was like, I got you covered. These are all the things that I feel would help you. I watched
Mhm.
videos, and I felt that I was in good hands. I trusted her is the bottom line. Is
Mhm.
I trusted her because she was somebody I used to work with. And, like I said, back then, Happy Juice wasn't even around. But even if she'd have told me, well, you got to drink this drink that's called Happy Juice, I would have been like all over it because I was like, yes, give me happy.
Yeah.
Yes, give me that. I want
Yes.
that. Who
Yes.
doesn't want
And so
happy?
for me, being your friend or being introduced to you 4 years ago as, a client and a business partner that now turned like very good friend, like I remember meeting with you 4 years ago on the other end of a Zoom call and feeling the ghost of a woman that you said was living in black or white, like living grinding day to day with no joy, no energy, no whatnot. And now, like, I look at you and you're like your gorgeous self, your face is glowing, your pants fit, you've lost a ton of weight, and you are doing all of the things. So you started on what is essentially Happy Juice and Mood Plus, correct? That's what the
Yes.
common
Hmm.
day term of these things is. And within a matter of what, weeks, months, give us the
Days.
journey.
I would say
Yeah.
days. I literally felt like I had to call her actually because this is how out of tune with my body that I was, that I couldn't even recognize that some of the good things that were happening, I couldn't even recognize them. She was like, no, that's actually your body detoxing
Yeah.
all, the damage, because let's face it, we've damaged our bodies over until you decide that you're going to make a change to correct your health. You have to
Hmm.
realize that there's been years of damage that's been done to your body from that point to the date of
Hmm.
decision that you want to make a change. So there's no one and done. And she did prepare me. She told me, she was like, I would give it at least 30 to 90 days, but I
Yeah.
was all in from the moment that she, got me on these solutions, because I also got COVID during that time, and
Okay.
it helped me heal a lot faster. I was the first
Yeah.
one to heal, and I was playing Florence Nightingale with everybody else in my house who then ultimately
Yeah.
got it. I was on my feet within 3 days after
Yeah. Well,
having
because
COVID. So,
70% of your immune system is in your gut. And so once you start to build that immune system, which is what you're doing with the probiotic strains that are in Happy Juice, you're beefing up your immune system. So, yes,
yes,
you might get sick, but you rebound super
you
quick and
bounce
then
back.
you're
Yep.
playing Florence Nightingale to everyone else in your house. I love
Yes. I
I
mean,
like
it's
that.
the truth.
And then what were the next steps that occurred? So you were already in Heal to Move or Move to Heal, excuse me, prior to you starting on Happy Juice?
Yep. So I just started to notice that my workout started to change. I would take
Like
it as like
how?
a well, I was more invested. I was just more
Yeah.
in the zone, if that's what you want to call it. Like my focus was more like, I can do this. This is not like, I wasn't like, I mean, in the beginning, I'm not going to lie, it was hard because I had 188 pounds on me that I was trying to shed. So burpees were not that easy during that time, and wall balls were the
Yeah.
death of me. But as I started to shed some of that weight, I was like, wow, it's amazing what your body can do when you start to get rid of that weight. Not even just the
Yeah.
physical weight, but the emotional weight and the
Mhm.
mental weight. And it's
Yeah,
just,
I mean, let's talk about that for a minute. The emotional weight and the mental weight that you were carrying, which raises your cortisol, which makes you stay in that place when you couldn't like button your pants. Like we've all been in, it doesn't matter what size you are. You have had a moment where you go to button your jeans and you are like, "Oh, snap." Like these are
mhm.
not going together. So as your pants started to fit better, walk us through the emotions that you were having at that time.
Oh my gosh. I started to fall in love with myself is essentially what started to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in an arrogant or,
Yeah.
conceited kind of a way. It was just like, wow. It was like I started to feel like I was 16 again. I mean,
Yeah.
I reached double digits in my pant size. And I don't say that to be, to shame anybody else or whatever, but it was just, it's one thing to be in double digits, but to feel healthy in your skin. But it's
Yeah.
another thing to have to be in double digits and to feel like you're dragging every single day and you're dragging that weight with you.
Yeah.
That's not good. So it's like if you're walking up a flight of stairs and you feel winded, that's not good. If you're walking up a
Yeah.
flight of stairs and you're in double digits and you feel great, well then more
Yeah.
power to you. But for me it
Yeah.
was just I was not it was like literally like the body was not falling in line with what the brain wanted to be doing because there was just so much weight there, and there was physical weight, but there was also mental, that starts to affect your mental health.
Mm.
And then it affects the emotions and stuff. It's a cascade effect, so all
Mhm.
goes hand in hand. So once I started to lose some of the weight, which again, like I said, I was into it more for the support for the menopause symptoms that I was feeling, but having lost the weight was like the side benefit. So
Mhm.
that's why I never position these solutions as like a weight loss benefit. I think that just
Yeah.
happens by itself.
Oh, it happens
uh,
it happens naturally
it
once you give your gut the building blocks that it needs in order to support your cortisol hormone and your stress resilience. The weight is the best side effect from
yes.
actual health, right?
Hmm.
So, can you share when did you decide to go off of the antidepressants and just totally go all in on nutrition and your health from a food standpoint?
So I think I was already kind of like starting to wean myself off of them. I didn't, see and I'm not suggesting that anybody do this, but I just think that wholeheartedly, no pun intended, in my gut, I just
Mhm.
couldn't align with, I never really wanted to go on the medication in the
Mhm.
first place. By all means, if there's somebody out there that can benefit from that, then,
Mhm.
go for it. But for me personally, there was just something innately in me that was telling me so I kind of like
Mhm.
resisted it going in. But then
Mhm.
I would take them. And then some days I would forget to take them. And then
Yeah.
another day would go by and I would forget to take them. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to take these anymore because I didn't like
Yeah.
the way they made me feel. And so days would go by and then a week would go by. And I was like,
Were you
yeah.
already off of the antidepressant before you started with Happy Juice, or did those lines cross?
I think they might have crossed like at the tail end. So I was pretty
Mhm.
much already mostly off of them and still dragging, you know what. And
Yeah.
I just was like, okay, well,
Dragging your
if it's not going
hiney.
to be dragging my hiney, and if it's not
Yeah.
going to be this, then it's got to be something else. So my mom
Yeah.
has always been into holistic solutions since, for as long as I've known her. And so, this was not something that was foreign to me, but I wanted something that was going to make like an impactful change. So
Yeah.
when I started, taking the fundamentals, the probiotic blend was like the real,
The
life
heavy hitter. It's
changing,
the
the he-
mentibiotics is the heavy hitter.
the definite heavy hitter. And I just started to feel things healing from the inside. I was like, okay, this is what vitality feels like. This is
Yeah.
what it feels like to feel like you're thriving, like your body is functioning the way that it was intended to function and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It was just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah. I
Nothing
want
that
to
you can
talk.
explain either. It's like you have to
No,
actually
and
experience it.
because you don't know what you don't know until you have it. And then once you have it, you're like, "Oh my gosh." So
Never want to let it go.
if you could go back to Christine 5 years ago, what would you say to encourage her?
Well, first of all, I give her a big hug.
Yeah.
And I would tell her not to lose hope, that there are solutions that are out there, and that
Yeah.
they're effective. They really are. If given a fighting chance, you have to give it time to do the
Yeah.
work, because it's like the bonsai tree. The bonsai tree doesn't really sprout right away. A lot of stuff happens underneath the surface where the
Mhm.
roots are that you can't see visually with your eyes, and you just have to trust the process. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of times we don't trust the process in whatever it
Yeah.
is that we're doing, because if we can't see it with our own human eyes, we just assume that nothing's happening. And,
Mhm.
I think that sometimes people give up too soon,
Mhm.
and we just need to give ourselves grace, and we need to continue moving forward, keep putting one foot in front of the other, as incremental as it may be. Sometimes you
Mhm.
might not see the rainbow until it takes a little bit of time, 3 months down the
Yeah.
road, 6 months. It varies for different people.
Yeah.
But I think that if you stay committed and you adapt these, habits, healthy habits into your
Mm.
daily routine, I can't live without this stuff. I really,
Yeah.
honestly, this is a lifesaver for me. It really,
Yeah.
honestly pulled me out of the trenches.
Mhm.
So, and I'm grateful because it led me to people like you, and it led me
Yeah.
to a community of people that understand and get it and don't shame you for it. And we can lock arms, and we can then go out there and go save the world, because
Yeah,
there's
I
a
mean,
lot of saving.
who knew that one drink with the silliest name of happy juice with the probiotics, it's the probiotics from antibiotics, and you mentioned that you had the energy, you were
Yep.
purchasing energy 4 years ago by itself, and now it's bundled together with happy juice, but it's
Mm-hmm.
the nootropics for a better mood, more energy, more mental clarity without
Yes.
the jitters that you get from caffeine, because a lot of people even that are caffeine sensitive, you're not necessarily caffeine sensitive, it's the garbage that's in the caffeine that you're
Yeah.
consuming, where this is, even the edge that has a little bit of caffeine, like the mango edge has 100 milligrams of green bean coffee, but it's blended with cytidine, which helps to open up your brain pathways and just engage your brain, your creativity, your focus, your drive, and it's different than caffeine. So you've been doing this for 4 years, and you mentioned you're not going to skip a day. So tell
No,
me why. Tell me why we're not skipping it. I mean, I'm with you, girlfriend, but tell me why in your words.
because there have been days where I've forgotten to take it, or for whatever reason, life has gotten too busy, or, I just have too much going on. And I'm like, I feel like poop. Why?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't take my happy juice. Or there have been
Yeah.
times where I've run out of Mood Plus, and I'm like
Mhm.
literally stalking the UPS guy waiting for my package to come. I'm like, I need those Mood
Tell me
pills.
why. Tell me why. So Mood Plus is ashwagandha and a couple of other ancient Chinese herbs that help with stress resilience, and they specifically help with cortisol. And so tell me in your words like what you feel when you don't have it, when you're stalking the UPS guy? Like, why are you stalking him? What
'Cause
are you
I
missing?
literally feel angst in my gut.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel more irritable and, because we're moms and we're multitasking all these different things that we have going on, work, family,
Mhm.
everything else in between. And so I can definitely tell when I don't take Mood Plus because I feel more tense. I feel more
Yeah.
stressed out. I feel like a hot mess.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going to be 55 in November. It's proof positive that I'm not out of the woods yet. And honestly, why not? It's good for
Yeah.
you. You know what I mean? Like, why
Yeah.
not? I would rather have this than a glass of wine. I mean, honestly, it's not that I don't love wine. I love wine, but the wine, unfortunately, it brings on my hot flashes. Sugar brings on my hot flashes.
Yeah.
These are all things that I love. So I have to have them in moderation. So, I mean, honestly, just get an IV and stick it into my veins and
Of
just
happy juice?
give me happy juice all day long, all day, every day. And my
Oh
new
my gosh. Well,
favorite is the mango and the watermelon together. That's like my new
oh,
favorite.
yeah.
Yeah.
That is a winning combination. So for the
Yes.
listener that is loving your happy juice, you cannot do it wrong. There's everybody wants directions, right, and a correct way to do it. So you're mixing the watermelon mango or the watermelon edge with the mango edge, which is great. It's a flavor
Yes.
profile that you like. I like the mango edge with the pomegranate energy. Those are two things that I like to mix together. That's kind of like an afternoon go-to
Yeah.
because I like the way that it makes me feel.
Hmm.
Bring us back to the moment. I remember you saying something about cooking with your daughter in the kitchen and how you were so excited that you're finally showing up as the mom that you knew that you wanted to be. Can you share more about that?
Yeah. So that was fun. I think that my kids really appreciated that too, because they saw a side of their mom that they hadn't seen for, I don't even know if they ever saw it, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I've been through it all. I've been through miscarriages, divorce, loss of loved ones, all that kind of stuff. And that all takes a toll on your mental health. And so, they maybe didn't see that aspect of it because, they were just babies when I was going through a lot of this stuff. But, to see this other side of their mom and they're like, wow, our mom's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I am pretty
Yeah.
cool. Just because I'm 55 doesn't mean your life does
Yeah.
not end just because you
No.
get into your 50s.
Oh
I
my
feel like
gosh.
my
Well,
life has just begun.
yes. Yes. And you're at CrossFit every day, like you are, or multiple times per week, right? So how many,
Yes.
like you already mentioned that you were in Move to Heal or yeah, Move to Heal. I want to say that backwards. I get so confused every time we talk about it. Move to Heal. And now you're actually at CrossFit, correct?
Actually, I've taken a break from CrossFit right now. I'm not actually actively doing that every day like I was. I had started to when I got back to the office, but I've just been walking every day. And I
Yeah.
have some weights over here downstairs in my little basement area. I have a walking pad. I have the Peloton bike. So I
Yeah.
self motivate in that regard. I do miss CrossFit for the community. I will get back to it. I just have some work to do on my frozen shoulder. So
Yeah, but you are working out. I guess the point of the
yes,
story is that you are
yes,
working
yes.
out and you continue with that habit. When did you enroll in nutrition school? Old
That was
Christine would
actually,
not have old Christine would not have enrolled in nutrition school.
no,
So
I would
you
have overthought that for a long time before biting the
yeah.
bullet to do it.
So a superpower that came from you healing your gut, not even healing, supporting your gut with happy juice. This is not medical advice, just to confirm. We are just two moms talking about life. But
Yes.
you enrolled in nutrition school when?
So I think it was like 2 years ago, I enrolled in nutrition school. They had like a 6 month program or a year long program. I did the year long program because I just figured
Hmm.
it would, I would be able to integrate that more easily into my daily schedule and all of that. And I mean, it was so easy to do because it was all online. It was remote. It was during COVID when we were all at home. And I thought to myself, this is an investment into myself and into my family's health too. If I do nothing else with this at all but heal myself and heal my family, the money will be well worth it. and it's paid me back in spades because I've learned so much. It's not just nutrition. You learn
Mm,
about literally everything. We have a circle of life, and there's all these 12 different aspects of what they consider to be primary food that actually impact your health, like relationships, career, finances. Creativity is a big one. I'm a
mhm,
very creative person, and
mm,
we learned about trauma and how trauma impacts your behaviors around food. There's so much to the human, specimen, so to speak,
mhm.
that affects our health that we just don't give any level of validity to. And
Yeah.
we really ought to take some time and do the soul searching, do the digging deep into our upbringing, our past, certain behaviors that we were taught around food. And I mean, I'm Italian, so it's like and I had Italian parents that had an Italian restaurant, so I was always constantly surrounded by food. Food was like the focal point
Mhm,
all the time in our
mhm.
celebrations and everything. So it's just really, nice to have learned, healthier ways to just kind of like craft your plate. Doesn't have to be a ginormous plate of pasta. It
Yeah.
can just be maybe like a little smaller plate. You don't have to cut it out and say, "Oh no, I can't." Like, I know a lot
Yeah,
of
it's
people
not
say
an
you got to
all or
cut.
nothing mindset. Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
an all or
no, not
nothing
at all.
mindset. It's learning different things, but I'm so proud of you. And this is like where you living in vibrant color, not in black or white. And again, those are your words in prioritizing yourself because 5 years ago, you would have not prioritized yourself or your family to enroll and dedicate your time and effort and money into nutrition school.
Yeah, 100%. Because we're moms and we always put everybody else first. Put the
Yeah.
kids first. Put the husband first. Put the dog first. Put
So
everybody else
what
first.
made
But
you what made you put yourself first? Like when you finally lowered the overwhelm and you started feeling vibrant, right? On happy juice and on the supplements and getting your exercise in because then all of a sudden now you're consistently exercising and you're doing all of the other things. You're cooking in the kitchen with your daughter, creating
yep,
these moments and like your face for if you're watching us on YouTube, we can see your face. But if you're listening, like Christine, you're beaming ear to ear, smiling, so excited about these moments that you've created with your daughter.
yes. I would say that it was because I kept putting myself last for too long. And I said enough
Yeah.
was enough. And I got to the point where I was sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. And you can't
Yeah.
pour from an empty cup. And I learned that the hard way. And you're actually doing your family a disservice if you
Mhm.
think that by putting them first all the time and yourself last. It doesn't work that way. It's just like when you're on the plane, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first so that then you can help other people. And that's how I felt. And I felt like, no, this is not selfish. It's not selfish to put yourself first. And I will do that as a gift to my family so that I can be
Mm.
around longer and serve them better, with more grace, with more ease, without being a loose cannon all the time, without
Mhm.
losing my, what, all the time, and, being more invested and being more present,
Yeah.
because life is too short. And I've learned that, unfortunately, the hard way. A lot of times I've lost a lot of people in my life, some of them too soon. My own dad died at 53, and I was way too
Mhm.
young. And he died
Mhm.
for reasons that could have been fixed and could have been
Mhm.
helped. But we give our power away too many times to too many people. We let people convince us that we don't have the power within to heal from within, and we really do. I
Mhm.
wholeheartedly
That's so
believe that with
good.
every fiber of my being.
Yes, and that's so good, and I think you and I both were, like, eyes wide open when we learned the stress has such a profound impact on the gut. Like, until you don't know what you don't know until you know it, and then once you
Yes.
realize that there is so much science and data out there about the cortisol gut connection, that even if you're eating somewhat I mean, I was eating healthy and or as healthy as I knew to eat and doing all of the exercise before I found happy juice, but I was still snapping at my kids, lacking patience, and had pants like I was getting puffy around the waist. And I was like, what is happening? I'm gonna have to run
Yeah.
4 more miles. Like, here we go, here we
Yeah.
go, here we go. And like those old tricks stopped working. And then you learn that cortisol has such an impact on the gut, and you start on mentobiotics, which is the strain specific probiotics that help to rebuild the gut's lining. And now all of a sudden you have patience. And now
Yes.
all of a sudden, like in your example, now all of a sudden you're enrolling in nutrition school and you're teaching others, you're teaching your daughter how to cook in the kitchen and you're creating.
You're sleeping through the night.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
huge.
let's talk about that for a second.
I mean, that's huge. If I had to get up one more time in the middle of the night, either because I had to use the bathroom or because I had to kick the sheets off of me because it was too hot in there,
Yeah.
or the anxiety would wake me up in the middle of the night. I was like, I can't do this. I'm like, there's just
Yeah.
no way. I'm not going to be able to survive or get through a day's work if I have to keep getting
Yeah.
up in the middle of the night. And
Yeah.
that was a
And that
gift to
went
me in
away.
and of itself. Yeah, that went away.
Yeah. Yeah, sleep is a gift, and everyone is looking for the sleep solution and understanding that it can stem from your gut. Like
Mm,
your gut controls that cortisol circadian rhythm and also your melatonin circadian rhythm. So if you improve the cortisol, the stress response, you improve the melatonin and now you're sleeping soundly and you're waking up with energy. So rather than you
yes.
laying in your bed going, it's sunny outside, but I'm so depressed, I don't even care. You're like,
Yep.
let's go. Grab your dogs,
Yes.
you're outside, you're going on a walk.
Yes. Yep.
I have one last question to ask you about finances. So, for not having an abundance of disposable income, what makes you continue to make this a priority? So, for the woman listening that is like, that is great, hard pass, I don't have the money. What made you lean in to say yes? And what encouragement do you have for prioritizing you?
Well, I will say that we invest in the things that we find value in, right? So
Yeah.
for me, I would rather invest in my health care than in my sick care. So
Yeah.
you're either going to pay for it on the front end or you're going to pay for it on the back end. That's just the way that it goes. None of us get out of this alive. And
Yeah.
from point A to point Z or wherever,
Yeah.
I would rather invest in this than in my Dunkin' Donuts coffees, that I would have to look at my watch every morning and say, do I have enough time to stop at Dunkin' Donuts to grab a cup of coffee before going
Yeah.
to the office? I haven't had coffee in like 4 years now. And it's not because I didn't like the taste of it. I mean, I did. I love the taste of it. I love the smell
Yeah.
of it, but I never really got those things back 100% after having COVID. So I was like, what's the point? And coffee never made me feel as amazing as Happy Juice makes me feel. So for
Yeah.
me, I feel like it's an investment, but it's an investment that pays you back over and over and over again. It's not like, like, why wouldn't you want to invest in your health? I don't understand that. For me, my health is so important to me because without that, you can't do anything. You can't do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a no brainer. And I would rather invest in something that I know is clean, doesn't have any of the chemicals or added fillers or garbage that you can get a probiotic off the shelf, but
Yeah.
it's not going to be as clean. It's not going to be as
Yeah.
effective and I'll tell you how I know, because I tried them. I
Yeah.
tried Amberine. I tried all these other things over the counter and they never helped. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why.
The strain specific probiotics, and I was before I was introduced to Happy Juice, like at the grocery store, at the supermarket, like I knew enough to know that I wanted a probiotic. I knew enough to look at the strains. I was looking at the strains for mental wellness, but none of them did what Happy Juice did for me after being my own human experiment. So if you're listening, I would encourage you, if you're on a supplement protocol and you're not sure what it's doing for you, like that should be your own mental red flag to empower yourself enough to say, well, maybe I should try something different, and then give it the time, give it the 30, the 60, the 90 days. I love that you have, Christine, like you were like, immediately I felt better. You had energy, you had
Yeah.
whatnot. But God made us all very unique and very different. And sometimes you see things at 30 days, you see other things at 60 days, you see the weight loss last. Usually you see the bloat immediately at the beginning. You'll
Yes.
ditch a little bit of bloat, but you'll ditch the major pounds over time as you are
Yeah,
truly just supporting that gut brain connection. Oh my gosh,
100%.
Christine, I have enjoyed talking with you. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much for
much.
being here and for opening your heart and sharing your story and just letting us in,
Thank you for
shining a
having
light.
me.
Yeah, shining a light on all of it. I absolutely love the conversation. I love you, and this has been amazing. Thanks for being here.
Likewise. Thank you.